Welcome to a Telltale Books video. I'm Greg, continuing my Stephen King series with the next work he published after The Stand, titled The Long Walk. We are Telltale Books, bringing you the best in literature, literary topics, and graphic design and bookmaking.
If you want to support us, you can find us on Etsy and Pango, where you can find gently used, rare, and even top quality used books.
And if you like this video, be sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and maybe even that bell to be notified when new videos go live.
Thanks for joining us.
The Long Walk is a full novel, though not a long one like The Stand is, or many of other Stephen King novels. It's more of a normal length novel. And it was published shortly after The Stand was published. The Stand having been published in November of 1978. The Long Walk was published in July of 1979. And it's the second of the Bachman books, the second book that King published under the Richard Bachman pseudonym. Actually, The Long Walk was written way back at the start of King's career. It was his first novel, written during college, and just never published until 1979. Well, he was writing it during 1966 to 1967, so it sat for 12 years before he published it. Basic synopsis. It's set in a contemporary but alternate America, where there is a totalitarian state, and they have this contest that young men can enter called the Long Walk, where they have to all just keep walking until there's only one of them left walking. Quick assessment of this book. If you are wondering whether or not you should read it, whether or not you should try it, my advice would be yes, try it. It's definitely one of the better novels by Stephen King. I wouldn't call it his best, but I would call this a top tale. This is a very remarkable book. So to do a deeper dive, and yes, there may be spoilers in here, so if you don't want the story spoiled, take my advice on it that I've already given. Go read it. I think you should. I think it's one of the best novels I've ever read. That's why, all the top tales are the very best I've ever read. And this is a top tale. The deeper synopsis can't really go too much deeper than what I've already said. It is this contest where all these guys enter. The one left standing at the end when all the others have actually died. And the rule there is when everybody's walking, they have to keep walking. They have to keep walking. They cannot stop. They cannot stop for anything. They have to keep going. If they do, and they have to keep going at a certain rate, 4 miles per hour. If they start walking too slow, they get a warning. If they stop or sit down, they get a warning. When they get a warning, they got 30 seconds to get moving again, get back up to 4 miles per hour and join the pack. And they only get 3 warnings. After the third warning, the next time they break one of the rules, they get shot. Okay, shot dead. So great incentive to stay on your feet and keep going. But the one who's left standing at the end after all the others have died is supposed to receive everything he could possibly ask for. Everything he wants. Everything. Just given to him. And there's a guy called the Major who is supposed to be in charge of this whole Long Walk thing. He's very high up in whatever government this is. It's never said if there's anybody above him. He is the most important person mentioned in the whole story. The contestants for the long walk. The long walk takes place in Maine, starts kind of far north in Maine and goes all the way down until there's only one person still walking. In this book, they make it all the way down like 30 or 40 miles from Boston before the story comes to an end. So more than 200 miles. When you hear that basic synopsis, you might think, well, how can you make a whole novel out of this? It's just 200 pages of people walking and some of them getting shot from time to time until you get down to the last one. And that literally, yes, that's the whole story. But, reading it, I was astounded by the way King was able to keep the story going and keep the story interesting, even though it's just the same thing page after page of these guys walking. There's a lot of things going on between them, a lot of things going through the main character's mind. The main character's last name is Garrity, Ray Garrity, I believe it was. And he's the one that we follow through the whole story to the very end of the book. So that's the first really astounding thing about this book, is that King was able to make this engaging story out of something so simple. I mean, they're not able to do anything but walk. They're eating crackers and peanut butter along the way. They're drinking water out of a canteen. The crackers and the water are supplied to them by half-track trucks that follow them where the soldiers are. On the half-track trucks, those are the soldiers that will shoot them if they exceed their 3 warnings. And it was really astounding how King is able to keep it interesting. And I mean, it was really interesting. I was engrossed in the story. I didn't think that would happen with this. I was expecting to not like this because the basic premise sounds so simple. How do you make a whole novel out of it? I could only make a short story out of this basic idea. King made a whole novel, and he made it work. And he made it work brilliantly. I've read where people believe that King was kind of paralleling the experience of soldiers in Vietnam. That the long walk was like a metaphor for their experience. I've never been in the military. I've never been in a war scenario. I've never, been overseas. Never been in any situation like that, so I really can't attest to that. The Vietnam War was going on when I was extremely young. I think it was over with before I was 8 years old. So I didn't really know what it was about at the time. I don't have any experience with that. So I can't really relate to that idea that this novel is about Vietnam soldiers. I can imagine how that would be. I mean, soldiers in the jungle, scouting through, trying to get back to where they're going to get picked up and taken home. They're well in the interior and enemy territory. I could see how it could parallel something like that, but I don't know for sure because I don't have any experience with stuff like that. But what I saw it being more of a metaphor is life itself. Because in this story, you start out young and strong, full of optimism, with this wonderful goal ahead of you. If you win, you get everything. You get your girl, you get tons of money, you get whatever you ask for. Everything that you ask for. And so you start this walking along the way. Early on, some of them die. And you keep going, and some of them do die. When it starts getting towards the end, some of them are going crazy, flipping out, And so then they get shot. And, along the way, Garrity makes friends with some of the other walkers. And so when those people die, it really affects him. It really hurts him. He tries to help them. In some cases he can. In other cases he's just not able to do anything. And he has to watch as these people die that he has come to admire. He's gotten, along the way, they all get to know a lot about each other, their hopes, their dreams, their past, their motivations, their personalities. There's very, very, very strong characterization to this book. King really gets into the minds of these people in this long walk. So, you make friends along the way. As it gets further and further along, they're dropping off and you're becoming more and more alone. Here's a spoiler. Until you get to the end, all your friends are gone. Everybody else is gone. You're ridiculously tired and sore. Your body's falling apart. And you won, but all you want is to go to sleep. That's all you're going to add. That's all you have to ask for is, I just want to rest forever. And so I see this as like a metaphor of life itself, which made it a really strong story, kind of a surreal story, even when you look at it that way. And that made it, I don't know if that's what King intended, but that's what I'm taking out of it. And it made it a much stronger story for me. I really, really loved it. When I started thinking of it that way, I started to see, wow, this is really powerful. It's really well written. He's really capturing in the things that go on here. He's really capturing like life and the things that we all go through and how we change and how, when we're young, we have all these idealisms, we're going to achieve this. And as we get further and further along in life, we realize, no, it's not going to happen. We're not going to get there. And our bodies are breaking down and our mind is going and, as someone who has had to watch a number of people in my life die of old age, 2 of them of Alzheimer's, this story really felt like it was touching on that experience and paralleling that experience. And that made it very powerful for me. And the final spoiler is at the very end, Garrity sees a man in black and goes to him. Now, I haven't read much of The Dark Tower. So far, all I've read is The Gunslinger, the very first novelette that was published. Not the full book Gunslinger, just it was first published in a series of short works. I've only read that very first short work, which is also titled The Gunslinger. The next one that is coming up in my list, and just like 3 or 4 stories, will be The Way Station, which is the next short story in the book The Gunslinger. And of course the man in black figures in that story, and that was written about the same time that The Long Walk was published. Stephen King was starting that whole Dark Tower series. So I kind of think that is pulling in the man in black from the Dark Tower into The Long Walk. I may be wrong. We'll find out as I go through these. As I get deeper into the Dark Tower, maybe I'll find out that that's completely wrong. But at this point, that's what it looks like. My recommendation then is don't skip this book. Definitely read it. This is a really great novel. Maybe it's considered to be one of King's lesser novels, but no, it's not a lesser novel. It's a brilliant novel. It's a great novel. And I read it in my copy of the Bachman Books Omnibus. This is the edition that includes Rage. All 4 of the first Bachman books, Rage, The Long Walk, Road Work, and The Running Man, are all in here. Excellent book, but not so easy to find these days. And when you do find it, if it's in good condition, people know what it's worth and they're charging you. So you're going to pay. I paid about $100 for my copy. That's what they're going for just, this isn't any perfect copy. It's not signed or anything. It's just a used book, and it's $100. So you're ready to pay out money if you want to buy that book. But The Long Walk, of course, there are versions of the Bachman books that don't have Rage in it. They're easy to come by. They'll have The Long Walk, they'll have Road Work, they'll have The Running Man. And then each of those books are available individually and as ebooks. Definitely very, very easy to come by The Long Walk. And especially with the movie out right now. I have not seen the movie. I'm not sure if I'm going to try the movie. I haven't heard any reviews of it yet, but I just love the book too much, and I think the movie is going to be a letdown if I try it because of how excellent I think the book is. But I might be wrong. I don't know. So I'm just not sure if I'm going to... I just have been kind of soured on movies lately, preferring books. Anyway, if you've read The Long Walk, leave your comments in the comment section of this video. I want to hear your thoughts about it. I want to hear your perspective on it. I want to hear if you agree with my assessment of this book, of what this book is talking about. But give me details. Don't just tell me that you thought it was crap. Give me details. Why is it crap? Or why is it great? Tell me why. And definitely come on back. The next that I have to read came out the same month as The Long Walk. It's a novelette titled The Crate, which ultimately ended up in Creepshow. But I'm going to be reading the original novelette that was published in Gallery magazine. It is number 53 in my Stephen King bibliography. Come on back and see that and all the other King I'm going to be doing after that. The whole Dark Tower series is still... I've only read the first novelette in that series, so I got a lot more coming up with that. So don't forget to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and come on back and watch all the rest.